Most people don't get burned by factories. They get burned because they came in unprepared. They don't have a clear product spec. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what their target cost should be. So the factory fills in the gaps for them, and that's where they go wrong. This video is about how to find suppliers, how to vet them, what questions to ask so that you don't have to learn the hard way. Sourcing is not about finding the cheapest factory. It's about finding a long-term manufacturing partner that you can work with for a number of years. You're looking for consistency, communication, partnership, and problem solving. Price matters, but reliability matters more. If a factory can hit your price but can't communicate with you clearly, you don't have a supplier. You have a problem for the future. You cannot start sourcing without a clear written spec. If you can't explain your product clearly in writing, no factory can build it for you. Your first product spec doesn't have to be a beautiful designed 16-page PDF, but it does need to include these basic things: the core function of the product and how it's used, materials that matter and where you're flexible and where you're not, key dimensions and size constraints, your target cost range, and your packaging requirements. That includes packaging type and size, not just the word box. Do you need a master carton? Do you need to have inserts, warning labels, instructions, or anything placed into your box? If your product requires instructions or compliance testing or labeling, you're going to need to include information about those requirements. Factories price based on what you give them. The better input you give them, the better output you're going to get back. If your spec is vague, the output will be vague. When I look for vendors, I use Alibaba. Alibaba, it's a directory. It's your job to filter. You will see two common types of suppliers on Alibaba. A trading company, they're going to have a really broad catalog. This is not what you're looking for. You're also going to find OEMs or specialty suppliers. An OEM typically handles larger product executions, pulling multiple components, packaging them beautifully. You're going to get a really high quality product, but the cost may be too much to bear. You can find a smaller specialty factory that does your exact kind of product. You're going to have to vet them very closely for their communication skills. If you're heavily customizing or developing something new or sort of a bundle, an OEM is going to be your best bet. If you're working on just improving an existing product or you're very price sensitive on your target price, a specialty factory would be a better choice. The key thing you're going to be looking for is actual product experience, not just generic claims. How you communicate with suppliers matters more than people realize. You're going to want to use a domain-based email address when you start talking to suppliers. You can set one of these up pretty simply, but it matters to look really professional. Clear communication is going to be very important as you're going to be talking to people whose first language is not English. This is a business communication, but relationship is really important. Make sure that you're polite and courteous, but that you're leading with your product spec and your product requirements. One of the biggest mistakes that I made early on was not giving suppliers a target cost and just assuming I could make the pricing work later. Spoiler, I didn't. Factories need to work within constraints. The more constraints you give the suppliers in your initial conversation, the easier it's going to be for you to whittle your list down to the suppliers you'd want to sample with. Samples are not about perfection. They're about assessing the product's quality. I think about sampling in two phases. I like to do an initial sample where I get products that they already produce. And then I go into a customized sample that is my product, but handmade, to check for any issues before we mass produce. A good factory will do both of these sampling steps with you. It's normal to pay shipping on an existing sample from China. It's also normal to pay a full sample cost to build a customized sample. Do not skip these steps. A sample cost for a customized sample can often be negotiated into your final PO placement, so make sure you ask. A good sample does not guarantee a good supplier. I have a secret hack that I use to vet multiple vendors on product quality. I like to ask multiple suppliers which brands they manufacture in the US market, and then I don't ask them to ship me a sample. I go to Amazon and I buy my own. This does a couple things. This ensures the product I'm getting is the same product that the US consumer gets, and I can really assess quality without getting a cherry-picked best version from the factory. It's also typically cheaper because shipping a free sample from China is usually going to cost me more. This has saved me a lot of money and exposed red flags more than once. Red flags I might not have known if I had let them ship me a sample direct from China. There are few red flags when dealing with suppliers. Typically, I'll walk away from a vendor if they're giving me vague answers from direct questions, if they're refusing to explain materials or processes, or their communication is just inconsistent, or something just feels off. Only move forward with a supplier if the communication is clear, the sample quality is good, we've built a custom sample, and I have a clear understanding from them around what the timing is going to look like for my first order. You should also discuss payment terms. Typically, you'll do 30% down when you place your PO and 70% before the product ships from China. Anytime I'm using a brand new supplier, we'll request that we pay through Alibaba. It gives an extra layer of protection. It lets you use a credit card. Now that you understand the full sourcing framework, the next step is to put this into practice. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through a 30-day roadmap that's going to take you from coming up with your product idea to emailing your first supplier in the correct order without skipping any steps.